Deep in northern Minnesota, there is a river. It is called the Brule River. This is not a lazy, sleepy sort of river. Oh no, this one has some get up and go. It tumbles and rushes through the woods. The trees along its banks are tall and green. Moose probably wander by thinking deep moose thoughts. It is a wild and rather handsome place, all told. This feisty Brule River flows through Judge C.R. Magny State Park, a fine park, I'm sure, with trails and fresh air. But the main event, the star of the show, is a waterfall. Not just any waterfall, mind you. This one is special. It is where things get interesting. The water comes roaring along, as waterfalls do. Then it does something quite peculiar, quite unexpected. It splits in two right over a rocky cliff. One side of this waterfall behaves perfectly normally. The water crashes down into a pool below. Then it carries on its merry way, heading for Lake Superior, just as you would expect a well-behaved river to do. No fuss, no mystery, just good old H2O doing its job. You could watch it all day and think, yep, that's water. It is predictable, reliable, and frankly a little bit boring. But the other side, well, that is a different story. The other side, the western flow, is the famous part. This is where the Brule River gets mischievous. The water on this side takes a dramatic plunge. It pours straight into a giant dark hole in the rock. A pothole, they call it, carved by ages of swirling water. This hole has a name, the Devil's Kettle, and for a very long time nobody knew where that water went. It just vanished. Poof. Gone. So, half the Brule River dives into this rocky cauldron, the Devil's Kettle. Sounds ominous, doesn't it? The water goes in with a great roar and a splash. You would think it has to come out somewhere nearby. That is what water usually does after all, but people looked and looked and looked some more. Downstream there was no obvious sign of it. The river below the falls didn't suddenly get twice as big. This was the mystery that had everyone scratching their heads for decades, maybe even a century or more. Where on earth, or under it, was all that water going? It was a significant amount of water, mind you, not just a trickle, but a good portion of a whole river. Imagine half a river just disappearing into a hole. It is the sort of thing that makes you question reality, or at least question the plumbing of northern Minnesota. Naturally, people tried to figure it out. They were curious. Humans are like that with puzzles. They threw things into the Devil's Kettle, not valuable things, one hopes. Maybe sticks and logs. The idea was simple. If it goes in here, it must come out there. So they would toss something in, then race downstream. They would scan the river, hoping to see their log pop up, but nothing. The kettle kept its secrets. This went on for years. A local legend was born. The vanishing water became a topic of much discussion. Campers would tell stories about it around the fire. Hikers would stand at the railing, staring into the abyss. They would ponder the unponderable, or so it seemed. The Devil's Kettle was nature's magic trick. A disappearing act performed daily with no explanation, and it was baffling, intriguing, and a little bit spooky. When something is a mystery, people invent explanations. The wilder the mystery, the wilder the explanations. Some folks figured there must be a giant underground river, a secret channel burrowing deep beneath the earth. Perhaps it flowed for miles and miles unseen. This seemed plausible in a rugged wilderness sort of way. The ground there is old rock, after all. Maybe it was riddled with hidden watery passages. Other theories were a bit more ambitious. What if the water somehow connected directly to Lake Superior? Not by flowing on the surface, oh no, but through some vast subterranean tunnel system. Imagine a secret pipe all the way to the big lake. That would be quite a feat of natural engineering. It made for a good story even if it seemed unlikely. People loved the idea of secret passages and hidden connections. Then there were the truly imaginative ideas, the kind that makes you grin or maybe shiver a little. Some whispered the water went to another dimension, or perhaps it led to the center of the earth. The devil in Devil's Kettle probably helped these along. It sounded like a place where strange things could happen. These were not scientific theories, of course, but they made the mystery even more captivating. To test these ideas, or just for fun, more things were thrown in. Ping pong balls, hundreds of them apparently, brightly coloured dye in large quantities. GPS trackers, though I'm not sure how they would work without a signal. The hope was always the same, find out where it goes. But the Devil's Kettle was stubborn. It yielded no clues. The ping pong balls never surfaced. The dye never reappeared. It was as if the Earth had simply swallowed them whole. Eventually, scientists with proper equipment got involved. They were probably tired of hearing about the ping pong balls. In 2016 and 2017, hydrologists from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources decided to get serious. They brought tools that measured water flow very accurately. No more guesswork, no more tossing things into a hole. This was going to be science with numbers and data. They aimed to solve the puzzle once and for all. It was time for the Devil's Kettle to give up its secrets. Their method was clever and surprisingly straightforward. They measured the volume of water flowing in the river above the falls. Then they measured the volume of water flowing a bit downstream from the falls, below where the kettle's water rejoin. If the kettle's water went somewhere else entirely, the downstream volume would be much less, but if it rejoined, the numbers should be pretty similar. It was a simple comparison, really. The results were quite conclusive, as it turned out. No need for interdimensional portals after all. The scientists found that the amount of water below the falls was almost exactly the same as above it. This meant only one thing. The water from the Devil's Kettle was rejoining the main river. It wasn't going to Lake Superior through a secret tunnel. It wasn't vanishing into another dimension, sadly for storytellers. It was simply re-entering the Brule River a short distance downstream from the pothole. The reason it was never seen was likely due to the powerful currents. The water probably resurfaced from an underwater exit, blending quickly. So the mystery was solved, no more head scratching. Yet, even knowing the answer, the Devil's Kettle still feels magical. There is something about that thundering water disappearing into the earth, even if it pops out again just around the bend. The years of mystery have left their mark on the place. It is a reminder that nature can be wonderfully puzzling, and sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one, but that does not take away the awe of seeing it. It is still a special spot full of wild Minnesota charm.